Listen up, sports bettors. Your favorite sports book, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in all season long. With live in-game betting, incredible odds with daily odds boosters, props, parlays, fast payouts, and exceptional customer service, BetUS.com has you covered. Visit BetUS.com to sign up today. BetUS, where the game begins.
Yo, what's up, Buffalo Fanatics? It's your man, Rev, and you are now tuned in to another edition, another episode of Rated Rev, brought to you by BetUS on the Buffalo Fanatics Network. You guys already know what time it is. Smash that like, hit the subscribe button, and turn on those bell notifications. Let's get this thing popping, baby. Yo, it's a roll call. I need to know where you guys are watching from. You already know how to do it. Drop it in the chat right now, whether you're watching live on YouTube, Facebook, whatever the case may be. What's happening? If you're watching the replay, what's good? If you're listening to this via podcast format, what's up? This is Rev. You're listening to Rated Rev right now. Let's get this thing going, baby. I'm so excited to be here with you guys for another week of Bills talk, baby. We got a huge game Monday night. In case you don't know, this game is going to be for all the marbles, like they used to say. It's going to be for everything. But you know what? I could not do this show by myself. I couldn't do it. I had to bring somebody alongside with me, and we are going to get this thing popping tonight. So this is what I want you guys to do. Get ready and drop some mics and some fire emojis in the chat for my man, my brother from another mother, none other than Zeba. Oh man, I got you.
Come on now, Red.
What up, baby? There you go.
Are we in? We unmuted in this?
Oh, we in there, baby.
Come on, I'm bopping to the theme music, baby.
Yeah,
It is week 17.
Yes, sir.
Just as we predicted, Rev, it's as big as it gets. Monday night might as well be the AFC Championship when it comes to the way I'm viewing this one. Bills, Bengals, primetime, Rev, we're in for a show.
We are in for a show. Kyle Toth comes in here from Hamburg. What's up, Kyle? I've got Buffalo D from Sugar Land, Texas. What's going on? Chris 716, always first in the building from Southside Buffalo. What's up, my man? I've got Jason Tremaine in here from Buffalo. And shout out and prayers to everybody right now in Buffalo right now for everything you guys are going through. Much love, man. We're praying for you. Thoughts and prayers are definitely with everybody there. What's up, baby? James says, yo, time to preach, Rev. Hey, I've got a partner in crime with me tonight. We both going to preach it. We are going to preach it tonight for sure. I've got my man Tyler Davis says, go Bills. Everybody's in here in the chat. It's popping off. We getting this thing started. I'm so excited. My man Z-Bot is excited. He missed his show Monday for certain reasons, but he's back at it again with me tonight.
We're back from the dead, Rev. I was sick than a dog Monday, but I said, hold up. Give me till Wednesday. Just let me get through a couple days here. I'll hop on with Rev. And like I was telling you off the air, feeling as good today as I have in about a week or so. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Monday night's right around the corner. I'm getting my spirits lifted. And I'm glad I can be able to get out here tonight with you and get it all out there because I'm stoked.
Dude. I'm stoked, man. I'm glad. First of all, I'm glad that you're feeling better.
Thank you.
Yes, you look good, man. You sound good. So, thanks be to God, man, for that. I'm glad that you guys are feeling well and you're back at it again, man. I'm excited to be with you, bud. It's been a little while, man, since we linked up together. But you know what? What better time to do it, man? It's the holidays, man. We're coming out the holiday season, right? We got a huge matchup. Like this. I know they say this is a game of the week, but to me, this has to be the game of the season right now.
No
in the
doubt,
regular season,
no doubt.
This is the game of the season, man. For the number one seed in the AFC. And in case you didn't see the thumbnail, baby, you already know what time it is. Check this out one more time. The Bills and Bengals battle for the number one seed on Monday Night Football.
Man.
You know what? I was talking to Bobby, man, and I really wanted to go with this theme for the show. I really wanted to do it. I wanted to call it the Rumble in the Jungle.
Oh,
but you know what I'm saying? We can't do it, but it really is a Rumble in the Jungle.
That's what it is.
It's going to be one heck of a game. And guess what, guys? We're going to talk about it. We're going to get into it neck deep into this conversation. We've got a jam-packed show for you all tonight. Go ahead and smash that like. Smash that like right now if you haven't already done so. Hit the subscribe button and turn on those bell notifications so that way you can stay up to date with everything related to the Buffalo Bills and the Buffalo Fanatics. We are going to get this thing started. I've got another guest coming on with me right now. Matter of fact, I think he's already in the background, and we are going to top this thing off. We're going to hit this show off right now with a little bit of injury news, right? A little bit of injury news, injury update. Check this out from my man, Thigh Doc.
He's hiding. He had too much eggnog over the weekend. He doesn't want to show his face. Isn't that right, Doc?
What's up? You on, man? How you doing, baby?
What's up, fellas? You hear me loud and clear?
Man, you sound great.
You sound better than ever.
Oh.
What'd Santa bring you, Thigh? What'd Santa bring you? Anything good? He bring you some tights? What'd you get?
Thighless chaps.
Oh, my God. Listen, I didn't know. What did Santa get you? Not what I got you. I was asking.
Nice, Thigh Doc. Nice, man. Hey, man, did you enjoy your holiday?
Yeah, it was good. How about you, fellas?
Man, it was good. It was good.
It was good.
Doc, what happened to you?
I was sicker than a dog, man. I was sick it was the worst timing ever. I got sicker than hell. So did the whole fam right over the weekend, like Saturday morning and then up until today. And this is like the best
going around.
It's going around. I don't know anybody as of late who hasn't had at least a little bit of something over the last month. So hopefully it's off the table. But I mean, it sucks.
Had three colds in like 6 weeks.
Yeah, no, it sucks.
Everybody's getting sick around this time of the year, man. Yeah, and so you guys need to rest up, man. Get well. So I'm glad everybody's doing well. Thigh Doc, man. I want to hop on, man. I got you on because you're the doctor. You are the resident doc, okay? And as we get ready for this huge monster matchup against the Bengals, I want you to kind of run through some of the injury news with the Bills. And kind of talk to us about what you expect to see. Any guys that are going to be out. I was looking for the injury report today. I'm not too sure if it came out or not. But just if you can, if you got some information, go ahead and run through that injury report for us.
Yeah, I think it starts tomorrow. Well, I'm sitting here on my phone, so I don't really have anything to look back to. But I think the big thing out of last week was Ed Oliver got that calf designation like later in the week, which really spooked me. I thought he pulled a calf in practice, and then he went out and he played 68% of the snaps, so that was impressive. So obviously that's nothing. And he was coming off of a pectoral injury like the week before that he was able to play through. So it looks like Ed Oliver is clear. He is playing with a harness. I'm assuming he has like a minor pec strain, and I guess the calf's a non-issue. Speaking of calves, though, Boogie Basham went down with a calf. That was not this past game, the game before. Those usually take about 3 weeks. So look for him to miss another week here. Let's see. Milano was he was getting more participation in practice, so that was good. He is wearing a knee brace. No one really knows what the injury is because he's been playing 100% of the snap counts. He never really came out. But the fact that he's wearing a knee brace, it's definitely not like a contusion or like a tendonitis. He's either dealing with like a low-grade ligament sprain or he might have like a little meniscal issue. But it looks like it's something he's going to play through. When we did play, not last week, who did we play 2 weeks ago?
The Jets.
The Jets.
It was the Jets. Someone cut. No. It was the Dolphins.
Dolphins.
Yeah, when Mostert cut up field on him, you could just that knee is bothering him. I mean,
the sideline, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you know what play I'm talking about. Yeah, so that wasn't great to see. But obviously, north to south, he should be fine. But cutting on a dime, a guy like that on the sideline, that really puts that knee in a vulnerable position to kind of cut on it. So I would assume that that's trending in the right direction because, like I said, he's participating more in practice. But, that was pretty eye-opening to see him struggle with that cutback.
Yeah. Any news about Mitch Morse? Is he still in the protocol?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's a big one. So Morse is we'll find out tomorrow if he's participating.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like a 5-stage thing with the concussions. So they got to like go back to practice like with no pads on, and then they can practice with pads on without contact, and then with contact. So he didn't go back at all last week. Now, this is his 6th concussion in 8 years, I believe.
Yeah.
There was a little misinformation that went out last week about how quick he came back from his last concussion with the Bills. People said he didn't miss games. He did. He missed 2 games, and there was a bye week built in there. So he actually missed 3 weeks. So, I mean, he missed all of preseason when he first signed with us as a free agent. So he missed about 5 weeks there. And he missed 5 weeks with his last concussion with the Chiefs. So, based on his history, I would say it's a 3 to 5 week thing if everything kind of goes according to plan, which would kind of land him back. So this week would be what? That was 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I actually don't think he's going to come back this week, but if he does, that'd be great. If not, at least get him back for the postseason would obviously be ideal.
Side Doc, when do you get to the point with him when you just say, man, that's a career for me? 6 concussions. You're seeing the conversation surrounding Tua now. Obviously, it's a different situation. You got somebody who's half the size, if not less, of Morse. But 6 concussions. There's got to be a conversation being had, wouldn't you think?
Absolutely. So I don't know. We extended him. Like I said, I'm on my cell phone, so I can't look this up quick. If you guys are in front of a laptop, pull up his spot track. Tell us he signed that extension. So when's the out clause? Is it after this year, or does he need another year? Because
let me take a look.
I think when that one's done,
he'll be a free agent in 2025. They've got him signed all the way up till then.
If he retired after this year, what is the dead cap?
$5 million in 23, 2.5 in 24, so about 7.5.
It's stomachable. So obviously, if the guy needs to make a family decision, that's not that terrible. I don't know. I would expect him to come back again. It's really when you get the concussions quickly after another. So his have been at least spread out since he's been with us. I think this is his 3rd one. And how many years has he been with us? 4 seasons.
I think so. Yep.
Yeah. So that's not too bad, but Tua's got 3 concussions in 3 months. So his eggs are scrambled right now. So basically the more concussions you get, the easier it is to get another one. And then obviously we all know about the CTE. So everyone's scared shitless the more you get. So I think Morris is probably getting close to having that discussion. If he gets dinged again, I would think that was probably it. But with the Super Bowl a golden opportunity here, I would expect him to want to come back this season. As long as he's okay. I mean, if he's got symptoms, you can't. It is what it is. But if he gets back to feeling good, he'll be back. But his future is a little murky. You're right.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. I'm looking. One question I have for you, man, is Tre'Davious White. Now, obviously, we know he's not on the injury report or anything like that, but just from the eye test, right? I mean, it looks like he's just not quite back to himself yet. What are some of the observations that you've had?
Yeah, so he had trouble getting his knee fully bent. We saw that in camp when he was doing straight line speed. I feel like I could still see it, but it's definitely not as noticeable as it was in summer, and it's not as noticeable as it was when he first came back. So he obviously is bending that knee better. I broke this down before. Basically, if you can't bend your knee actively when you're sprinting, like your heel won't come up towards your butt, so it like screws up your sprint cycle. So it slows you down. So I've seen 2 plays where he's kind of gotten burned on straight line speed. So I'm assuming his straight line speed is vulnerable right now. But if he keeps things in front of him, he looks pretty good. Is he probably a step behind where he was last year? Absolutely. But is a step behind of All-Pro Trey White much better than any other corner on our team? I'd say absolutely.
Yeah. Does it give you any concern? Especially going up against this matchup here with Jamar Chase and T Higgins.
I wouldn't put him on an island with him. Maybe here and
Yeah.
there, but I don't think he's ready to shadow these guys. Blitz from the other side and have them just lock someone out of the day. No, not with a trade. Maybe with another tier of receiver potentially, but
Yeah.
no,
That's
I think
going to
they
be
got
an is what it is situation on Monday.
they're gonna have to play the
Mhm.
cover 2 shout and play it safe,
Yeah.
and hope they can get home. Now, a big injury for the Bengals was Lionel Collins tore his ACL, so
Yeah.
that's their stud right tackle. I believe he's been playing right tackle, so he's out with an ACL.
Mhm.
So that definitely opens the door for some edge rushing, which is good.
Well, speaking of edge rushers, I mean, I just thought about Boogie Basham. Is he what's the word on him?
Yeah, like I mentioned, so a calf strain, like a legit calf strain, is going to at
Yeah.
least take 3 weeks, and they're
About 3
tricky
weeks, huh?
because you can easily re-aggravate them. Me personally, I've gone through multiple calf strains. Once you strain it first time, you better rehab it good because if you come back too early, the thing's going to be twingy. So yeah, the average is about 3 weeks on the calf strain. I would expect Boogie to miss this week, but Kingsley
Yeah.
played. He actually played pretty good. I mean, he made a
really
couple
did.
awesome plays.
Yeah.
He definitely looks undersized out there. I don't know if 4-3 D end is his true position. He looked a little small, but he played pretty technically sound. He blew that one stretch play up. That was pretty sweet. And he was in on a couple other ones.
Yeah. He looks pretty good. Matter of fact, I think I had called it. I was, on the show. I was like, you know what? I think that Kingsley Jonathan's going to get a sack. Well, he didn't get a sack, but he ended up having some nice plays, and so I feel a little bit better with him in the lineup.
He was disruptive
in that rotation.
Sometimes you get a guy. Obviously, he's probably not as good as your starter, but someone who's really a practice squad guy who wants to make the most of his opportunities. Special things happen when that goes down. So it looks like he's making the most of it. That's pretty cool.
Nice.
Pretty good.
Nice. Anybody else? Anybody you can think of? Ike came back. I don't know if he's back
He went in the
100%.
game. He went in the game.
He went in the game for yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Achilles are tough. That's his second one. I think he's done both legs. There was some rumblings. He had a setback. Basically, here's the deal. You either crush an Achilles repair or you have trouble because some people just get really loose in the ankle, like the tendon stretches out, and then they got this floppy ankle that's not explosive. So a lot of guys have struggled coming back from Achilles. They lose speed, they lose power. I think the best example of someone we recently had is who's that tall tight end that we had to cut?
Howard. Howard. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, his Achilles ruined his career. So, but he was such a freak. We gave him a shot, but I think they quickly realized that he had definitely lost his explosion there.
Now, what about Christian Benford?
So Benford had no oblique. I don't know. Obliques are weird, man. If you tear it really good, it's going to take a long time to repair. And if you just twinge it, it takes 2 weeks. So obviously he must have had a pretty severe tear of his oblique. Sometimes I think when you talk about oblique injuries, if these guys are getting pain near their groin, it's probably a sports hernia issue.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty good surgery to get nowadays. They've pretty much mastered it. You come back in 2 months, but I didn't hear any reports of him having surgery. So he might be just trying to play through this. Maybe it was just a legit, side of his ab strain, and it was bad, and it's going to take a month to 6 weeks. But it sounds like he's on the cusp of coming back. The Bills kind of have a luxury of just slowly bringing him back because maybe they want to see a little more Kyrie Elam right now. So I would assume if they want him, if they want to play him, he'll be good for the playoffs. So
that's
That's
encouraging.
how I see Bedford. Yeah.
Yeah, that's encouraging, man. Because I think we definitely need Benford and Elam more. I've talked about how my disdain for Dane Jackson right now and the way he's been playing, and I don't understand why McDermott still has him in the doghouse. I don't understand what's going on there with him and Kyrie Elam. But the quicker we can get Benford back, I think it'll bode well for us in the playoffs. Z-Bot, man, is there anybody else on the team that you can think of, man? Any injury concerns that you?
I think you just about covered it all. There's one as far as the Bengals, Trey Hendrickson. I know he missed some time a couple of weeks ago. He's been back. He was back on Christmas Eve, but he only had one tackle. I don't know how much he played. I don't know if you know anything about that thigh, Doc, but he's definitely their best edge presence. He's been banged up. So that's definitely something to look at from the Bills' perspective going against this Bengals D, which is very underrated. I think a lot of people overlook this Bengals defense, but he's definitely their strong suit. He's been hurt. He was back Saturday. I'm not sure how much you know about that situation, but
I'll look into the Hendrickson. I'm not sure. I think Hubbard's the one who has the calf who's getting close, but again, if he's just scratching the surface, coming back from a calf, I wouldn't be too concerned with him taking over a game, but could get activated and, play 40% of the snaps and make some plays. But I'll look into the Hendricks thing. For the Bills also, Allen with the elbow, I don't know if it's his mental right now or if the elbow is bothering him, but, we have seen some numbers that he's struggling with, like throws under 10 yards. That might be because those are the kind of throws he has to change his arm angle, which puts more strain on the UCL. That actually it would make sense. So because the deep balls you could just kind of cock it up top, like the stuff underneath you kind of got to sidearm a little bit. So I think that actually is still bothering him. Micah Hyde, if he sets a record for coming back from a cervical fusion, you could see him in the AFC Championship or the Super Bowl because 5 months would be February. Which would be, it's very unlikely. He would have to he would have to have, the surgery would have to been crushed in a good way.
Right.
These bones have to fuse, and, they take multiple months to fuse. But someone has come back to contact sports in 5 months, so it is possible. I don't think it was football, it was hockey, but it is what it is. And then Crowder, potentially, but he looks like shit running right now. So, I don't even know if he's still limping around, don't bring him back. He might look like Waddle looked like in the national championship. That's kind of like the same timeline. So is it worth bringing Crowder back, to play 15% of the snaps and have to run off the field after every time he makes a bad cut? So
not at this time.
So both those guys are kind of like a pipe dream, but Hyde definitely is possible. So that is something to keep an eye on. But it would be very risky, just so you know.
Yeah.
Very risky.
Sounds good, Doc, man. I appreciate you guys. You coming on, man, and dropping this knowledge for us, man. I understand you're busy, man, but hey, shout out to you, man. Thanks so much. I'm glad you enjoyed your holidays. Look forward to bringing you back on and talking some more injury news, man. Hopefully, what I am glad about is that the injury report, man, seems to be it's a lot shorter than what it has been all year, and so it's good to know that these guys are getting back healthy to make this stretch run here, man, for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I did forget one though. Jordan Phillips.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the way he landed when he initially got hurt, chasing around Matt Jones, I wouldn't be surprised if that shoulder had dislocated. But if it didn't dislocate, he definitely had a labral injury because you see that a lot in baseball when guys go for a diving catch in the outfield. So he took about 3 weeks rest time. I think he missed 2 games, and then it looked like it was still aggravated. So. I don't know. I don't know if that shoulder is going to get back to 100%, but he can throw his body around. He's a big, boy. But sometimes he really changes the game sometimes. So it actually kind of sucks if he's playing at 80%.
Yeah, it does. It does.
We'll
All right,
see.
man.
Yeah. All right. Happy New Year, fellas.
Next time, camera on, assless chaps on. That's the requirement.
Oh, nice.
It's stylist chaps.
Stylist chaps. Well, I got to fill in those books.
You're doing a little Prince.
We'll celebrate the new year with
I'll
those. How about that? We'll take 2023 off with those.
Yeah. I could cam it up on Monday nights, just so you know. So maybe after playoff time.
There we go. There we go.
Sounds
all right,
good,
fellas.
Thank you, brother.
We got it this week. Take it easy.
No doubt. No doubt.
Man. Have a good one, Dada. Thanks, man.
Peace, bro. Well, it's not as much as it usually is. That's for sure. That's a good thing.
It's encouraging, man, because we know that list used to be like a laundry list.
Yeah, sometimes I got to talk to his ass for 45 minutes. I can't get him out of here. He's always got the next one, the next one, and the next one. So it's nice.
Right. So golly, man. So it's good to see that these guys are getting back healthy, man. Right at the right time too, which is important as we get ready to make this stretch run. You had mentioned earlier, since we're talking about injuries and Mitch Morse's concussion injury, we have to kind of jump on here real quick, man, and just touch on the whole Tua conversation, because this is something that's quite serious, man. What are your thoughts, man? Like your initial thoughts about when you heard about the Tua concussion after that game, what seemingly felt like nobody knew anything, nobody was able to spot it at all, and all of a sudden he comes into the facility the following day and talks about having some symptoms, and they go immediately put him on a COVID protocol. What were your initial thoughts about that?
Well, it's interesting. I watched that entire game, as I know a lot of people did, just based on my Twitter feed. I could tell everybody was trying to ring in Christmas Day with a Dolphins loss, and that's what we got. But the odd part about that is, anybody who watched that, Dolphins fans, non-Dolphins fans, anybody, nobody saw an injury to Tua, and why would you have? Because he was never taken out of the game. He played the duration of the game, and all we had noticed from him is his play level went from pretty good throughout the first half to very, very bad. In the second half, but nobody really, thought there was anything to that. I think you were never given a reason to think that. And then the next day comes around, a lot of social media pub was being given to one specific incident right before halftime where he was hit on a quick throw near the sideline. He definitely hit his head pretty hard against the ground. Here's the situation with Tua that differs from anybody else in the league. He was the poster child for the concussion situation this season because of what had happened on the Milano hit that kind of went under the radar. He followed that up with a game against Cincinnati in prime time in which he had definitely got a concussion. Then people started to link those two together. We saw how egregious it looked once he did get that concussion. He was seizing up. Everybody saw that in a prime time setting. Bad look for the league. So, of course, that wound up bringing to the forefront not only the concussion issue, but what we do with players when something like that happens. How long do we sit them, and what is their career?
They changed rules. They changed the rule after that.
Exactly. I mean, you notice it ever since then how much more stringent they've been on the QB hits, almost to the point of a fault. There'll be hits now against a quarterback that are so routine and mundane that'll be called, and that's not because the refs necessarily want to call it. They're being told to call that from upstairs. They have jobs they want to keep too. Everybody hates it. And I would venture to say the refs hate it as well. Now, with this situation with Tua, it's different because nobody knew about it until all of a sudden everybody at the same time knew about it. I listened to Mike McDaniel's press conference. He had just been made aware of it about an hour or so before he had addressed the media. So it's a very different situation than most concussion protocols we're used to seeing. He will not play this week against the New England Patriots. Teddy Bridgewater will get the start. So when I look at it, Rev, we're talking about a guy now in Tua who documented has one bad concussion on the year. To the eye test has probably three concussions on the year. This is a guy who is undersized compared to the majority of the league. He's undersized compared to the quarterback position in itself. And he's not like Kyler Murray, who's going to run around the whole game and never get hit. Tua gets hit. He might look quick. He's not as fast as a Kyler Murray or a Lamar Jackson or really even a Josh Allen. So in his situation, Rev, you really got to wonder what the longevity of his career is going to wind up being, having had this amount of head trauma suffered in just one season. Now, the weird thing I find in this whole take is a lot of people are starting to compare the statistics in the first half to the second half when he was supposedly concussed and how much worse he played. I'm not buying that. I think that's a really easy way to kind of write off what was a god-awful performance by the Dolphins in the second half that flat out handed Green Bay that game. They were winning that game throughout until they weren't. 3 straight interceptions on 3 straight drives. But as much as I don't want to rule that as a probability for the woes the Dolphins had, you can't help but think that if the Dolphins had known that there was a concussion suffered by Tua, they would have felt they were in better hands to have a healthy Teddy Bridgewater take over the second half. I'm not saying that the concussion, or the possible concussion rather, was the issue for Tua in that second half, but you do have to think if there was a possibility that the Dolphins might have attacked that second half differently, and now that's what the big conversation is. Here's the flat-out moral of the story, though, Rev. This coming week, it's do or die for the Dolphins.
It absolutely is.
A month ago, everybody had them winning the East. We all know what's happened since then.
Oh, they were in the Super Bowl conversation.
And Teddy Bridgewater's at the helm. We'll see. And I got to tell you this. if Teddy Bridgewater goes out and plays well and they beat New England, not only is Tua's career on the fritz for the concussions overall,
he's not playing the rest of the year.
You got to wonder what goes on the rest of the year and the rest of his career in general. It's a very interesting situation.
Yeah, definitely. And on top of that, I mean, you look right here. I mean, you see, this came out from Marcel Louis Jacques talking about, per source, the NFLPA has really launched an investigation into the Dolphins regarding this concussion protocol. And so, like, this is serious. I mean, we know what happened earlier, right? After that concussion that he sustained against us, and so they had launched an investigation that time. So now they're doing it again, which, I mean, I'm not too sure. I mean, because you listen to reports, you listen to what people are saying, and the fact that, I mean, I guess the letter of the law is like they had spotters there and nobody saw anything. And so and the way they go about this protocol thing, especially in game with these spotters, is if they see a player get banged up, and he has those physical signs, of a possible concussion, they immediately, check him out. And then if he fails a test, and they take him out of the game. But there was supposedly like no physical signs whatsoever. So I'm not too sure where this lies. I don't know if, I mean, I'm interested to see what this investigation is gonna bring about. But you have to wonder, like, this is a serious issue right now, especially for Tua and his longevity, like you mentioned. I mean, we're talking about Mitch Morse having 6 and 8 years, and whether or not it's time for him to call it quits.
Yeah,
this man is on the brink of 3 in 1 season.
And he's also playing a position that's much more, I mean, not to say that you don't have to have a head on your shoulders to play center, but we're talking about a position where you got to be the sharpest guy in the field at all times.
Yes.
And if you're suffering 3 concussions in 1 season, compared to Mitch Morse, who's not only playing center and is in a position where you're more than likely to get those concussions than a quarterback, right? But Mitch Morse is probably 3 times the size of Tua. And that, to me, is the other big thing here that's not discussed enough. Tua is incredibly undersized. Yeah. Him taking those hits the way he does, it might not seem significant to the average viewer because we're used to watching Josh Allen get hit, or we'll see, Tom Brady get hit, Aaron Rodgers, who are, they might not look like, or Allen does, but Rodgers and Brady might not look like freakish athletes. But if you saw them in person, you'll notice they're bigger and taller than everybody else. Tua, he's pretty much a normal sized guy back there. And when you're getting hit the way you do, especially like a guy, Matt Milano, coming up the middle and taking your head off, it's going to definitely impact you heavier than it would if Josh Allen took that same exact hit. So that's something that you got to keep into consideration when it comes to this guy's overall career. And the other thing too, Rev, nobody's going to be under more of a microscope going forward than Tua. Mm-hmm. Like Mitch Morse is a perfect example, right? Mitch Morse is going on his 6th concussion, and we're talking about potentially hanging it up. But it's not like anybody else in the league is saying, oh, did you hear Bills center Mitch Morse has his 6th concussion? We need to look into that. The unfortunate reality is Mitch Morse isn't a household name, and no one's going to think twice about him having his 6th concussion. But if Tua gets his 4th concussion, say when he comes back week 17, if they wind up putting him back in there, that's going to be the biggest story anywhere. So that's another thing. He's in a really tough spot here, because even if he does come back, he's constantly going to be examined, probably 10 times more than anybody else is going to be.
Yeah, and I think also the reason why is because of the amount he had in 1 season. Like Mitch's have been spread over the course of 8 years in his season. You've got 3 in 1 year for Tua. So that's what makes it so much more difficult now, and especially now with the light, shining on them and that organization and all that kind of stuff with player safety. So it's definitely it's sad, because the guy is what is he next year, going into his year 4, I think. And so he's
will be year 4 for Tua.
So he's trying to secure some financial stability for him and his family. So that's a tough place for him to be in. My prayers, I mean, generally go out for Tua, man. I hope everything's all right with him. But he definitely needs to take time and really get himself together and find out what's happening.
It sucks. You don't wish it for anybody. I mean, truly, like you just said, the guy seems like a really good dude. Obviously, this is out of his control. I just think it all comes down to, taking a hit like he did the other day, where it wasn't like he got nailed. He got tackled at the legs and his head hit the ground.
Yeah.
A guy like Josh Allen is not going to be concussed on a play like that. He's way too big for his head, for one, to maybe even not even get tackled on a hit like that, right? But 2, Josh Allen, the way he's built, he's just not going to fall in that manner, getting hit by an NFL player, whereas Tua is much more likely to get nailed on a standard hit.
Oh, yeah.
You add that on top of everything we've already talked about, the numerous concussions he's already suffered, and then the fact that everybody's going to be looking at him extra closely. His career it's definitely changed this season. You can't say it hasn't. It's going to be interesting to watch how things go moving forward, not only, towards his future, but over the next couple weeks here. If the Dolphins win and they get into the playoffs, what's the move from Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins? It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it definitely will. And there's going to be a whole lot of pressure on that organization, especially if they get in the playoffs, to make a decision whether or not they're going to, they play him if he clears the protocol, or whether or not they do what they think is in their best interest of him instead of the actual team trying to win games. Yeah, definitely going to be looking out for that in the near future and see what's going on. Man, let's keep it moving up, Z-Bot. Man, we've got over almost 200 people in this chat right now. You guys have been just
talking about.
Smash that like, hit the subscribe button, and turn on those bell notifications, and let's keep this thing popping. Let's go ahead and open up, man, with a this is kind of a new segment, man, Z-Bob, that I had, man. It's called First and 10. This is the leadoff topic of the show. Let's get it.
What's that? It's First and 10.
Like 20, what's that? First and 10, Z-Bob, man. A little bit of news around the league, man. Off the top, man, J.J. Watt.
Yes, sir.
J.J. Watt, in case maybe you guys are living under a rock and you don't know about it, but J.J. Watt has decided to call it a career after the end of this season. On Tuesday, he announced that he's retiring from the NFL at the conclusion of the season. Man, Z-Bot, man, like when you think about J.J. Watt and you just think about his career and what he's meant to the NFL, how significant do you think this is for? Obviously, for the Arizona Cardinals, but man, like his when you look at his career, what do you think about J.J. Watt's career, like the legacy that he's going to leave behind?
Well, I'll tell you what, over the last couple of weeks, he's been playing like a man that knows he's not going to be playing anytime soon because he's been balling out. He's been having his way over the last couple of weeks. Man, J.J. Watt, just in his historic career, and you would pose the question, is that what you want to get into, kind of the topic of whether or not he's going to be in Canton someday?
We'll get to
there in a minute. We'll get to that. All right. But to kind of set up what I think about J.J. Watt, I think about a guy that he embodied the Houston Texans for the duration of his career. When I think about players and when I think about their legacy, if the first person I think of is you when I think about an organization, that to me says it all. Throughout the duration of his career, which was spent almost entirely in Houston, he was the best player on that team.
No doubt.
I mean, unarguably on defense, you could argue, was DeAndre Hopkins better during that time or Deshaun Watson better? I don't know. I mean, you're talking about a guy who was the face of that franchise for the entirety of, my growing up, really, up until just recently when he left the Arizona Cardinals. Now you're talking about what does it mean to Arizona? I don't know how much it really means him departing. We knew he was getting up there in age and this would be inevitable at some point. The Cardinals are also a hot mess. I could see them canning Cliff Kingsbury. I don't know what they're going to do with Kyler. He's injured, bad attitude. No one knows what's going on there. But J.J. Watt's overall career, I think it was one of the greatest at the position that we've seen in the modern era. And I also think when you couple that with his brother, they really became the Mannings of edge rushing. And then you pair that with the Bosa brothers as well. I think when we get older and we talk to our grandkids about, the way we're talked to now about legends back in the day and how they impacted the game, I guarantee you when we talk about defense in the NFL, the Bosa brothers and the Watt brothers will be at the forefront of that conversation. And I've always thought that was a really cool thing to watch because it's really rare you get players like J.J. Watt through this league, and you match that with a guy that's your own blood doing the same, and there's two other brothers doing the same thing in this league as well. It's cool stuff. So J.J. Watt, we thought he might have ended it with Buffalo. He didn't, but a historic career for J.J. Watt, and he just had his first kid, and it's clear that it's a good time for him to hang it up. So
it's perfect, man. I mean, and then J.J. Watt, I mean, this year, and I wouldn't have guessed it. Quietly this year racked up 9.5 sacks.
I know.
9.5 sacks this year. 14 tackles for loss, 33 total tackles in 14 games played this year.
He had a 3-sack game just a week ago. I mean, it's not like he doesn't still have it,
Man, he's still got it, man. But he's had a remarkable career, no doubt, no doubt. Which brings me to this question, Z-Bot, because you already kind of touching on it, which is exactly where I'm headed. Is J.J. Watt a Hall of Famer?
100%. Now, let me give you 2 reasons why.
Yeah, I'm glad.
A lot of people, when they come to talking about putting in defensive linemen and edge rushers, the first thing you're going to look at, of course, is the all-time sack list, which to this day, our main man, Bruce Smith, still leads. He's the only player in history to get to 200 sacks. And it's amazing because you watch the way the league has gone, and it seems like all the old heads' records are either already broken or, are going to be broken sometime soon. You take a look at this list here, Rev, and I don't know who's coming up on Bruce Smith anytime soon, really. It's going to be a while before we see anybody get there. But you will notice in this top 20 list that J.J. Watt is not on there, right?
Not on there.
He has 111 and a half sacks. So Robert Mathis is at 123 to round out that 20. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, okay, well, if he's not on that list, how does he classify? Well, we got to remember, J.J. Watt was banged up a lot throughout his career. He only played 3 games in 2016, 5 games in 2017, and 7 games in 2021. So we're talking about 3 years where he played less than half a season, and he's still only about 10 sacks shy of that top 20 list. You have to think, just based on common sense, if he gets even one of those seasons in on a full clip, you're adding another handful of sacks there, and he's probably in that list. So that to me is the reason I put him in on that argument, because he missed a lot of time. And even with those games missed, he's still just on the outside looking in. Mm-hmm. I also look at the fact, Rev, that he's a 3-time defensive player of the year.
Right.
That to me, if there was a debate about the sack list that would keep him out, that accolade will then trump that and then put him in. I also think politics have a lot to do with it. TJ Watt's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Or
TJ Watt's going to be a Hall of Famer. You're not putting one in without the other.
Right.
I think the same with the Bosa brothers. Would Eli Manning be a Hall of Famer if it weren't for Peyton? A lot of people don't think so. I think anytime you beat Brady twice in the Super Bowl, that should be enough. But statistics say otherwise when it comes to Eli. But, of course, he'll be a Hall of Famer. There's a lot of politics that play into it. And like we were just talking about, it's really cool to have a brother play just as well as you and be in the league as you at the same time. It's also really cool to have that in the sense that is going to be a major factor whether or not you make it into Canton or not. Both those guys are going to be there. I also think another thing, too, that a lot of people won't talk about when it comes to getting into the Hall of Fame, but it should be talked about. J.J. Watt is a Walter Payton Man of the Year. He's been nominated just about every year he's been in this league. Class act. And that's why when we were talking about it earlier, when I think about the Houston Texans, I think J.J. Watt. And it's not just because of his play on the field. He was one of the most charitable players in that entire city for the duration of his career. So I think you couple together, an unbelievable career on the field, an unbelievable career off the field, a family that has built a legacy within the NFL. J.J. Watt, surefire Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
I couldn't have said it any better myself, man. And you know what? Alexander comes in. He says the same thing that I was just about to bring up. He says J.J. Watt was also a 3-4 defensive end. And so he wasn't your classic, 4-3 edge rusher. I mean, this guy was playing a lot inside in the interior.
Yeah, still does.
It still does. And was just completely dominant his entire career, just utterly dominant. And so, there's no way, in my opinion, that this guy does not get in. I'm not too sure if he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, like Roy Collins comes in. He says, he's probably not a first ballot, but he'll definitely get in. I don't know. I think when you, and I don't know if you saw this about or not, but the Pro Football Hall of Fame actually put out a tweet as soon as he had retired or indicated that he was retiring. The Pro Football Hall of Fame tweeted out that he wasn't going to be eligible until I think the 2028 or 2026. I think maybe 2028.
You have to be out of the league for at least 5 years in order to be to qualify.
Yes, he might get in. He might get in first battle. I don't know, man. But this guy has so much more going for him than just his play on the field, like you had just mentioned. You know what? Another interesting thing about this list here, as I'm going through it and I highlighted it, is that the active players in this list right here, the sack leaders list, top 20, There's only one player that's still active right now who's
That's the
number
crazy
19,
thing.
and that's Von Miller.
That just goes to show you how insane that Bruce Smith stat is.
Oh my gosh.
No one's even close, man.
Nobody's close. 200.
The only
Reggie
person
White,
that was ever close is Reggie White, and he's considered to be one of the greatest defensive players of all time.
yeah.
And no one ever really talks about Bruce Smith, too, really, when you talk about, like, all-time D. He always gets overlooked. It's always Lawrence Taylor or Reggie White.
It really is.
But you want to know another thing, Rev? The weight of a name also means a lot. A lot of people don't think that Brian Urlacher should be in the Hall of Fame. But you can't talk about the linebacker position without bringing up Brian Urlacher. We should be talking about my era when I was a kid. He was the Chicago Bears.
He was it.
Yeah. So I think a lot of times when people say this is a popularity contest, it's not all a popularity contest, but don't think that there's not some part of it that is, because there definitely is. And I think that, of course, really helps JJ Watt.
I put Urlacher up there with Ray Lewis almost, it kind of in that conversation.
Yeah, it's funny when you look at Urlacher's stats, they're not necessarily at the Hall of Fame caliber when it comes to the linebacker position, but it's all about just the legacy you made for yourself. And whether that was, all stats or just, the way you became the face of the league, there's so many different factors. I just think JJ Watt for a long time, Rev, he was the face of defense when it comes to the NFL. He truly was.
Yeah.
We're talking about a guy who got MVP votes.
Right.
One of the years of his career.
He did.
So
he did.
It's not like he didn't do it on the field as well. I just think that his name carries a lot of weight as well.
Yeah, JJ Watt, man, is just a phenomenal person. Period. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a phenomenal person, and so I wish nothing but the best for him. I'm glad he's able to leave on on his terms. I thought that picture that he had, with his baby right there, with his wife, that was just beautiful, and so
that's cool too. Yeah,
shut up, man.
Imagine getting your whole career behind you, a legacy like that, and then you get to start being a dad from day one and never not be around. Like that's
perfect.
Dude did it right, man.
He did it right.
Really.
He did it right, man. I love me some JJ Watt, man. There's other news, man, that happened. And I'm going through all this news, because I want to give you the chance, man, to really just pour out, man, what you were unable to talk about on Monday.
I love it.
But the Broncos fired Nate Hackett.
I mean, they waited about 16 weeks too long on that.
Right, exactly, man. Like, I don't know what they were doing.
Listen. I don't even know how to summarize this. Watching the Denver Broncos is some sort of torture. I have watched, because we have been forced to watch them how many times now? At least 6-7 times in a standalone spot this year. And I've watched every one of them because it's NFL football and I'm, a sucker. So I'll tune in. I cannot fathom how bad that team is. And I tweeted this out the other day. Russell Wilson, outside of the Bills, was my favorite player in the league. I thought he was everything right with football. He was an unbelievable leader. He never got down on himself. He never got down on his teammates. He was always a rah-rah, optimistic, glass half full guy. I thought he had one of, if not the best long ball I have ever seen.
Yeah.
And I just loved what he brought to Seattle. I've always felt like Seattle was a West Coast Buffalo with their fans and their pride. I just loved everything about Russell Wilson, and I loved everything about his game, man. And to watch how pathetic he has been this year, it's sickening. It is unwatchable football. It is unwatchable football. And you're not going to can Russell Wilson with that contract.
No, you're not.
The Walmart family out behind the shed and robbed them blind. That is the last thing you're going to be able to do. So somebody's got to take the brunt of this failure this year. And this is a team that I know you were in agreement with me before the season. This is a team that I would never have imagined was going to be sitting on the outside of the playoff bubble, let alone being one of the worst teams in football with a top 5 defense. That's just how bad that offense has been. I mean, what's the stat, Rev? I think they'd have 10 wins if they had just scored 17 points in all of their games. That's it.
Crazy.
That's how bad they are, Rev. So Hackett had to go. I think everybody knew he was gone weeks ago. At this point, though, I don't know why you just don't wait till the season's over, because you're not making the playoffs. You have 2 more weeks to wait it out. I guess they just wanted to get ahead of it.
Yeah, and try to start this whole head coaching, I don't know, process.
I mean, not that I want them competing with us, Rev. I really don't. But I just hope that next year that when they do get another coach in there, whether it's, I don't know, Frank Reich, or they give Sean Payton an amount of money he can't refuse. I don't see it happening. But no matter what happens, I would really like to see it come to a point where we say, oh, wow, Hackett was really that bad of a coach, and Russell Wilson's back to playing ball that's consumable. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, I hope the Broncos are back competing with the Bills. What I'm saying is, I hope that when I turn on the Broncos, I don't want to turn on 60 Minutes instead. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I hope it's watchable next year. I hope the reason was Nathaniel Hackett, because if it wasn't, Rev, we're witnessing probably the biggest collapse in talent we have ever seen.
Utter collapse. It just seemingly overnight, right? Seemingly overnight.
And what's the argument? I mean, they have all the
extreme talent. Like you had mentioned, like we had thought at the beginning of the year that the Broncos were probably even going to be able to push for the division lead. That AFC West was like, we thought, man, that's a gauntlet between the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Broncos. I mean, Russell Wilson came in here, man, with weapons. He came in here with Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy,
before Javonte Williams got hurt. I mean, he phenomenal.
He had tons of weapons.
I don't think anybody could have possibly have fathomed this. Nobody could have.
No.
And the other thing too is, Rev, not only is it bad, it's to the point where they got guys fighting each other on the sidelines. I mean, it's an utter implosion. And I just, for the life of me, can't understand it. When I do bring up how stunned I am at this collapse, everybody always says it's Hackett's fault. Well, I guess we'll see, right? I guess we'll see. Because now there's no excuse, right? But the problem is, I mean, think about it. And I always think about this from a fanhood perspective. And I always think about it in a positive light, unless you're like a Jets or a Dolphins or a Patriots fan, you can go to hell, right? But like when it's a Broncos fan base, I got no problem with the Broncos fan base. Could you imagine the Bills, right? Given whatever amount of money, say they were in the same position as Denver, where they had Drew Lock and they needed a guy. And they had all the other pieces ready to rock, and they just needed that guy to get over the hump. And they go out and they get Russell Wilson, who has been a top 5 quarterback in this league over the last decade. And that's what happens. And not only does that happen, but you're tied to him for an astronomical amount of guaranteed money. I mean, no fan base deserves that, Rev. So you got to hope that something gets going there. Because they
absolutely bury that franchise, man, with that type of a contract. And now it's looking like
picks too.
No, none. And at the time we had thought, like, you know what? I think that the Seahawks got fleeced. That's what we're thinking. Like, man, they got Drew Lock and
Pete Carroll after the bank, man.
Now he looks
that's
like
the other thing, Rev. Imagine all that happening, and then Geno Smith. I know it's kind of faltered as of late, but they still had an infinitely better season than Denver did.
Yeah,
I don't get it, man. I just don't get it.
Yeah,
it is miraculous.
It is weird. It's weird, man. And like back to your point, man, about just how they're imploding here. Just with the team, and check this clip out, man. We see these guys arguing and fighting and pushing each other like on the side. This is ridiculous, man. You see this right here. We got that's crazy, man. Like the old is pushing. Who was that? Who was that backup quarterback? Ripken. I think it's who it was.
He went in. So what happened was
Ripken.
Russ got sacked for what I think was the 77th time the other night. I mean, every snap he got sacked, and I think the whole line just said screw it. They didn't help him up. Brett Rippon went over and yelled at him, and then it turned. I would not want to be Brett Rippon facing down one of them hogs on the O line, but that's what happened. The other thing I look at too is, and this is what happens, I think about it from the defensive perspective, right? You got a top 5 D all year, and you're gonna have one of the worst records in this league come the end of the season. How can the locker room not implode? I mean, how can it not implode when you have that good of a unit and you can't win a ball game? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you can't score any points whatsoever, and the defense is playing stellar like they have. Like what? Like it doesn't. Yeah, I would be highly upset at them. So yeah, I mean, I don't understand what's going on there. Hopefully, like you had mentioned, it is just a Hackett problem. Like we knew, like right when they made it higher, we're like, okay, that's crazy. I think they had thought that he was going to be able to lure Aaron Rodgers.
That's exactly it.
You know what I'm saying? And then that didn't work out. And so now they were just stuck with the dude, which is a stupid decision to make anyway, based on that. And we knew he wasn't
Wilson,
good back in
based
Buffalo.
on sheer talent alone, should have been able to cover up some of the woes of coaching. That to me, I mean, and Pete Carroll is a defensive coach too, so it wasn't like it was offensive. It was offensive oriented in Seattle under Pete Carroll necessarily either. So it wasn't like it was this big drop off. I'm dying to see who they get in there and how things turn around because, like we keep talking about, Rev, I cannot think of another example of a player going from that good to that bad that quickly. I don't know if we'll ever see it again. Truly, it was a real modern myth that we watched this year with Russell Wilson in the worst possible way.
Yeah, definitely. And when we're talking about who they could possibly hire, is that job appealing? If you're a head coach, is it appealing? You think so? Even with the contract with Russell Wilson.
So I got two reasons why. I got one reason why I think it's appealing, one reason why I don't think it's appealing.
Okay.
I think it's appealing because you got a team that if you do get things turned around, that they can compete immediately. You got a top 5 defense. That right there is already hard enough to develop in this league, right? Mm-hmm. You pair that with a quarterback that your sample size of him being great is so much wider than him being not great. You got to think that if you are able to do what you think works best within an offense, that if you trust your coaching ability, that this team can and will get back to being a playoff contender. You have to think that if you have what it takes to be the head coach of an NFL team, which Nathaniel Hackett did not. He did not have what
he didn't have it.
Head coach.
We knew it. Yeah.
But if you think that you are a guy, and I think a perfect example would be Frank Reich, who I think got absolutely boned in Indianapolis and was unfairly fired.
Yeah, he was shafted. Yeah.
That's a guy who's had a lot of success with offenses that, that weren't necessarily prominent without him being in the fold. Mm-hmm. I think he'd be a good fit. But I also think that the reason I would take the job, you have good pieces that you already have at your disposal. Mm-hmm. The other reason why I wouldn't take it, however, one, you don't have the ability to add to that team the way most other opportunities would give you. You're not going to be able to draft. You're not going to have the money to do it. Also, you're dealing with an ownership in the Walmart family. They're not going to mess around. We're talking about an ownership here, the wealthiest in the league. We're talking about a business people here who have built up a business more prominent than any other business in the world. Yeah. You are going to be under a microscope, to say the least. It'd be a really tough job, but I think a job that if you play it right, it could definitely have its benefits for sure. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think Russell Wilson is kind of what makes it maybe less attractive because of that contract. Right? I mean, it's okay. If I'm a coach, and I guess this goes, I mean, I could pose this question like if are you leaning more towards an offensive minded head coach, right? Because you clearly think that's the thing, right? You need somebody in there who can fix the offense because you got the top 5 defense, you got weapons on offense. You need somebody who can kind of bring it together. And so if you're looking at this team, you're looking at Russell Wilson, you see Nathaniel Hackett get fired, and you say, okay, well, maybe he was a problem. But what if Russell is a problem as well? And now you're just hamstrung. You can't. You're in quarterback purgatory because you're strapped with that contract. You can't get out from underneath it. So you have to eat it, and you have no means upon which to add another quarterback. So you're really stuck. And
that's the weird thing about Russ, though, right? Because we think one thing about him, Rev, and then we hear other things about him. That's the one thing, to your point, that I think is fair. I don't know if we know who Russell Wilson is. I don't know if I know who he is anymore. I thought I did. Yeah. But then you hear all this stuff coming out about him, right? Yeah. So you might be right to a degree there. Yeah. I just think that there's enough talent there that if you really trusted your coaching ability, you would feel you'd be able to turn it around, right? Yeah. But to your point, it's iffy with Russell Wilson, man. A lot more questions than answers right now surrounding him, not just on the field, but more so of who he is as a guy. I don't think people quite know anymore.
Yeah, and I'm not too sure if guys are really buying into him,
Great.
And we have some coaching candidates, man, and of course, Leslie Frazier, our very own, has been thrown into that conversation here. I'm looking at Bet Online had put out a tweet earlier talking about who will be the next head coach of the Broncos, and they list Leslie Frazier on there with plus 1,600 odds to be that. So he's going to be in the conversation. The favorite is Sean Payton. Favorite is Sean Payton at plus 400, and then Dan Quinn right beneath him, and then Jim Caldwell.
I think the Chargers are going to fire Brandon Staley and hire.
Do you think they're going to do that, especially
Payton.
with them being in the playoffs?
I think either that happens or Sean Payton and Tom Brady team up and do some absolute BS and go somewhere. I think that's the two options. If I'm Sean Payton, I'm worth more than going to Denver right now. He's the
exactly
the litter. He's the guy out of anybody that can turn you down.
Yeah.
I think Frank Reich is that one option to me where it just seems like he definitely wants to coach again, and he has the demeanor to be able to deal with a situation like that. Whereas Sean Payton is kind of like in a situation, it's almost like a situation where if Andy Reid were to get fired for some godforsaken reason, there wouldn't be a team in the league who wouldn't put in a voucher for him. That's who Sean Payton kind of is right now.
Right.
And I think Sean Payton sees Justin Herbert, and I think he sees the potential that the Chargers have. That's how I lean. But hey, they just made the playoffs. It makes it a bit tougher. We'll see.
Yeah, and I think Staley just may. I mean, he may have bought him some extra time. I don't know.
He might have. It'll depend on how they do.
Yeah, Peyton's been sitting out there in LA too, so that's gonna be something interesting to see, man. But I'm glad that to see Leslie Frazier in the circuit. I'm not too sure if he's gonna land a job. I mean, you got to think. I mean, you've got the Broncos and you've got the Panthers job maybe coming up.
Do they want to go de-oriented at the head coach?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know. I guess it would depend upon who he decides to bring for his offensive coordinator. That job may just turn guys like Sean Payton and the cream of the crop off, and you may need somebody in there who's just a level-headed guy like a Leslie Frazier, just to kind of put the pieces together. And I hate to say like be a bridge head coach. I don't like to use that term because I think Leslie Frazier deserves more than that. But it wouldn't be a bad idea depending upon who he decided to bring as his OC. But I mean we'll see, man. We'll see.
Unfortunately for Frazier and for anybody that's a defensive coordinator now, that's not what teams want to roll with at the head coaching spot. I mean, I think today, if the Bills didn't have McDermott, they wouldn't go. I don't think they'd go McDermott oriented. I think McDermott got in at the best possible time.
Right on time, yeah.
Yeah, where they were still hiring. I mean, think about it. Over the last few years here, it just doesn't make sense the way the league's going. So I think that's why he hasn't gotten a gig yet.
Yeah, I think so too, man. And that's unfortunate because I would love to see Leslie Frazier with another opportunity, man. Because I think he's a stand-up guy, great coach. I mean, ball accounts.
I love him as a guy.
Players love him.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
Moving on, man. Yo, we are an hour. Man, we can go on for like 3 hours, dude. Like this is crazy. This hour seems like it's been 30 minutes.
We haven't even touched on the game.
No, and we're gonna jump into it right now, man. So you guys smash that like. So glad that you guys are still joining us live, man. Shout out to my man Z-Bot. I want to see some fire emojis and some mic drops in the chat from my man Z-Bot coming off of a sickness, man, on the holidays, and here he is, man, toughing it out, and he's back with it, back on the saddle, doing his thing. I'm glad to see my man Z-Bot here.
Feels good.
Yeah,
big week,
feels good,
big
man.
week.
Big week, man.
Can't be wasting time in bed on this week, man.
Oh man, no, we can't. This is a monster game. This is a monster game, man. In case you didn't know, man, this game is for all the marbles. This is the battle for the number 1 seed in the AFC. Your beloved Buffalo Bills going into Cincinnati to host the Bengals, who have been on an absolute tear. What is 7-game winning streak?
7 for the Bengals, 6 for the Bills. It doesn't get better than this, baby.
It is a huge game for the Bills and the Bengals. But before we get into that, we have to talk about this. Z-Bot. I mean, right, that the Buffalo has the greatest fans of all time.
I've been told.
Yeah, Buffalo has the absolute greatest fans of all time. And you know what? It is about time that somebody recognized it and gave us a trophy for it. What do you mean,
Please.
Rev? What do you mean, Rev? The tailgate touchdown figurine celebrates Buffalo's world-famous game day tradition of breaking tables. Featuring Buffalo's unofficial mascot, Shout the Broken Table, this trophy bot is a perfect gift for any true Bills fan. So get your tailgate touchdown today at tailgate-mafia.com. Also, make sure you download football's only app dedicated to tailgating. Just simply type Buffalo Table Slam in the App Store and start breaking tables in augmented reality right now.
You can't beat that thing. The Pierre's watching. Where is it? He's supposed to be sending me one of those bad boys. I want to hoist it.
I know you do.
Over my head Monday night when the 1 seed is just that much closer, Rev.
Yes, sir.
Love that idea. Those guys are genius for doing that. We
Genius,
do
man.
We do need a
idea.
damn trophy. It's about damn time.
It's about time. And that's not the only trophy we're going to be hoisting up this year.
Oh, far from it. Far from it. Tell you what. The trophy I'll be hoisting up until I break into the facility and get my hands on that Lombardi. Until then, I'll be holding up I'll be holding up that one.
Dude, I can't wait, man. I can't wait. Z-Bot.
Where do we start here, Rev?
Z-Bot,
I
man.
got all the time in the world.
Look, let's jump right into it, man. All right.
Let's do it.
So we are going to jump right into this preview of the Bills and the Bengals. All right. And as we get ready to preview it, man, look, we have to talk about this is a segment called Put Up or Shut Up.
Put up or shut up.
It's like in my hand, I'm drooling.
Z-Bot, we all know, man, that the Bills have a massive, absolutely massive matchup on Monday Night Football on the road in Cincinnati, in the jungle, versus the red-hot Bengals, a team who is 11-4, only one game back off the lead in the AFC with the head-to-head victory over the Chiefs and are on a 7-game win streak of their own, right ahead of the Bills' 6-game win streak. And we had said, like you had mentioned earlier in the show, we had talked about this at the beginning of the season when the schedule came out about how this game could possibly determine the AFC number 1 seed, and it looks like it's shaping out to be the case, man. So, Bob, as we preview this matchup, I want you to do this. Give me one player, maybe from each team, but you can start from the Bills. One player from the Bills first, who you think needs to put up or shut up in this game.
Tre'Davious White's got to put up or shut up in this game.
Man,
Tre'Davious White.
Bro, you took my guy, man. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, you did.
Listen, I don't think it's much of a secret.
Yeah.
The Bengals have the best wide receiver core in the league. I mean, it is lethal. Jamar Chase, as good as it gets. T. Higgins, he's been balling out. Tyler Boyd, of course. Great ditch off type running back, and Joe Mixon, who gets involved in the pass game quite often. And then Joe Burrow, who all of a sudden has been playing at an MVP caliber over the last month and a half or so. This offense is as good as it gets. And when I look at what the Bengals want to do every week, especially in a game where we know the Bills have struggled against teams wide receiver 1, we can list off every player of note that has had their day against the Bills this season. I mean, there's plenty of them. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Amari Cooper. There's several guys who have had their day, and Justin Jefferson is better than all of them, but Jamar Chase is better than all of them, but Justin Jefferson, arguably. Tre'Davious White is back, right? He's back, and I don't think we've talked about it enough because, we've been winning, and it's not like we've necessarily had him ball out to the point where it's won or lost us a game, or he's made a big play where it stood out. And oh, thank God Tre'Davious White's back. He's been noticeable over the last couple of weeks, I think, especially in the Miami game. I thought there were a couple plays that he stepped up on. Now, he did get cooked on a few plays as well, but find me somebody who's not getting torched by Tyreek Hill. That happens. This game, though, it's not like you just got to cover one guy and hopefully, you can get on your way defensively like you were able to the other night against the Bears, who, there's no threat deep. You only have to contain Justin Fields, and that's pretty much it. It's not like you're playing against New England a couple of weeks ago where there's no threat there. You noticed when we played in weather against Miami, despite the fact that later on in the game, the D really did make multiple plays standing on their head that wound up saving the day for them. Mm-hmm. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle still had theirs the other night. They definitely did. This is a game. I don't think I can fathom a result that doesn't come down to the last drive. And I think that the difference here could be a guy like Tre'Davious White, who we have missed dramatically over the last season up until now, a guy who is an all-pro corner amongst a young secondary without Micah Hyde. I think that Tre'Davious White, this is the game where you say, thank God Tre'Davious White is back from injury. Thank God we were able to get him back before the playoffs. If he can make a play or two against Jamar Chase or T. Higgins, I'm not saying he's got to shut down one of them because that's not going to happen. And that's also not his game. It really isn't. But if they can get a play or two, right? Tre'Davious White can get a play or two that can alter the game just that much, it's going to mean all the difference. This is one of those games, Rev, where you're going to go back to one or two plays from either side, and you're going to say that really was the game. I can do it right now with the Miami game. There was one or two plays in the first quarter where Miami, they failed to stick to the run game. They threw it, and they wound up settling for 3 points on both those drives. That wound up being the difference. I think Tre'Davious White in this game, if he can get the best of Jamar Chase or T. Higgins on one or two snaps, either force a turnover or there's a play downfield, like, oh, you thinking deep ball touchdown for Jamar Chase, and somehow Tre'Davious White makes a play, that to me is all the difference. You're an all-pro corner who was the leader of this defense until you got hurt, or one of them at least. And now, with it being banged up as it is, with the secondary being as hobbled as it's been and as young as it is, this to me, Rev, seems like the game and the opportunity for Tre'Davious White to re-solidify himself as that guy we've all known that he has been and can continue to be once he gets back to full strength. It's been several weeks now since he's been back, Rev. This is the moment. And I think that we have an opportunity against the team who all they want to do is go after their elite receivers. He's going to have his chances. It's going to come down to whether or not he steps up and does so. And if he does, Rev, that could mean all the difference. It really could.
Man, I love it. I couldn't agree with you more, because Trey White was my guy on my list that I needed to see him step up in this game. And like you had mentioned, which is perfect. We're not looking for him to shut down anybody, because I mean, first and foremost, a healthy Trey White still ain't shutting down Jamar Chase. Like, these top guys, they're going to get theirs, right? I mean, you look at Diggs, who's shutting Diggs down? I mean, nobody, right? These top guys, they're going to eat. You just want to contain them and have a play or two more that at the right time in the game, right? Because these guys are they're still gonna go off. In this game in particular, man, this Bengals team is fire hot. And Jamar Chase is back healthy now, and you've got him and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. You can bet everything you have that Joe Burrow and that offense are going to try to torch this secondary and make the Bills defend them. I think it's going to be a shootout type of a game, or it could be. And we need Trey White. We definitely need Trey White, because when you look at the opposite of Trey White, I don't really have any expectations, man, or my expectations are very low. But when I look at the cornerback opposite of Trey White, Dane Jackson, we know he's been getting torched all year, starting since the Browns game when Jacoby Brissett was lighting him up with Amari Cooper. He hasn't looked good. We see Kyer Elam in the doghouse for whatever reason is. I don't know what's going on with that situation there, but he hasn't been getting a lot of snaps here. But now he's starting to kind of get ramped up more so. But at this time, I don't know how much you can really rely upon him now either. So you're kind of in a rock and in between a rock and a hard place at your CB2 spot right now. And so you need some veteran presence against these type of quality wide receivers. And Trey White, man, we need him to do something to kind of, because I think they're going to go after him. I think they're going to go after him and Dane Jackson. They're going to go after him, man. And it's going to be tough. And we know that even Trey White, back in when he was 100% healthy, he struggles against big receivers. And Jamar Chase is not a small guy. T. Higgins, 6'4", big receiver. And so this is going to be a huge task for our secondary, especially at our cornerback position. And we definitely need to see something out of Trey White in this matchup.
I think Teron Johnson's been playing pretty solid too. If we can get a combination of those two guys really stepping up. But like you just said, Revan, I wanted to piggyback on that, because there's a tweet going around right now about how the Bills have fared against their wide receiver ones that they've been facing off against. And that's been a complaint of mine for a while now, because it's a notable takeaway. You got guys who have had solid days. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Justin Jefferson was just south of 200. As I mentioned, Amari Cooper, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, those are guys who also get theirs every week. I think that's a really easy point to make. The thing is, though, the Bills have lost 3 games, right, by a combined 8 points. Mm-hmm. This team, and we've talked about this plenty, they bend but don't break. And that's where I'm talking about Tre'Davious White coming up. Jamar Chase, is he going to be near 100 yards? More than likely, right? Is T. Higgins going to be near 100 yards? More than likely. They're going to get theirs. But what I'm talking about when it comes to Tre'Davious White It's that
Yeah.
one or two plays, right, where maybe they bend, right? They get down and Jamar Chase does make a play, but can Tre'Davious White make that play to prevent the Bills D from breaking? That's what it all comes down to. You're not going to go out into this game and completely take away the best wide receiver core in the league. Nobody does that. I mean, you look at Justin Jefferson's numbers against the Bills. He has done that against every single team they played this year. It does not matter. It does not matter. Yeah. It's a bend but don't break defense. They've been kings at that. They are the absolute masters at finding a way to allow you to get yours to some degree, but keeping you out of the end zone, or either if they let you in the end zone, they step up in critical moments when they matter most. Can Tre'Davious White, can he figure that out against this top elite tier wide receiver core for the Cincinnati Bengals?
Man, love it. We need it. We need him badly. Now for me, I'm gonna look at the offensive side of the ball, and there was a couple of players that I had thought about touching on, but I'm not gonna put these guys out there like that. For me, I think the person who needs to put up or shut up in this game is Ken Dorsey. I need Ken Dorsey to really show that he can go toe-to-toe, blow for blow, coaching-wise, against some of the top teams in the National Football League. This is a playoff primer game right now. Huge implications. We're trying to maintain that number one seed going into the playoffs, and we cannot afford to have a coaching gaffe in the biggest game of the regular season against the Cincinnati Bengals when you know they're going to be coming with it. I need Ken Dorsey, specifically offensively, man. When you look at Stephon Diggs, you had mentioned, Z-Bot, wide receiver ones across the league, eating. Justin Jefferson, doesn't matter what you do to him. He's still going to eat his. He's still going to get his. Amon-Ra St. Brown, you mentioned him. Jamar Chase, so many others, right, are still finding ways to get the ball and put up numbers. My issue is I'm looking at the numbers from Stephon Diggs the past few games. Let's go back to the Jets game. 5 targets, 3 receptions, 37 yards. Against Miami, 9 targets, 5 receptions, 60 yards. And against Chicago, 2 for 2, 2 targets, 2 receptions, 26 yards. And in all 3 of those games, 0 touchdowns from your number one wide receiver, Stephon Diggs. There should be absolutely no reason why you cannot get your number one guy fed. I understand you may try to be balanced and you want to run the ball, but come on now. Look, there's no you cannot have these lapses where this guy like this is getting next to zero, man. And his total is dropped big time in these last few games. This is something we're not used to, and I don't blame Diggs at all because we know he's one of the best wide receivers in the game right now. He's almost always open. Is it a combination of Josh and Ken Dorsey? Likely, right? But when I look at Ken Dorsey as a guy who's calling this offense, you need to be able to figure out ways to get your guy the ball, get him involved in the offense early and often. Don't just be content to have him on there and be like, oh, well, he's being doubled, so let's just move away from him and let's just look at some other guys. Don't forget that. Find a way to get this guy involved. And when you're playing Monday night, all the lights are on, playoff primer. Come on, man. This is for the number one seed, or you're going to have to go on the road in the playoffs. I need Ken Dorsey to figure out a way to get the ball into his playmakers' hands early and often because we know this is going to be likely a high-scoring game. I think the over-under in this game, the last I checked, was like 49.5.
It's 49, yeah.
49, right? So we're already expecting a high-scoring game. Ken Dorsey, do not screw this game up.
And I think the same goes for McDermott. You want to talk about a situation where we've had the arguments made where he gets into a big game and they find a way to wind up faltering. This game is as big as it gets. It's as big as it gets. This game is playoff. It's a playoff game. This game is a playoff game. McDermott, the whole coaching staff. I mean, this is you want to talk about a put up or shut up. you could really make an argument for this entire team,
coaching staff. Yeah.
Staff
team,
down.
yeah.
I mean, this is the game to do it. They've won 6 straight, and the Bengals have won 7 straight. But both teams throughout this win streak have had lulls, believe me. The Bengals should have lost to the Patriots last week.
Mm-hmm.
They allowed the Patriots all the way back in that game up 22-0. We know what the Bills have done throughout the course of this win streak. There have been games perhaps they should have lost as well. Detroit comes to mind. Doesn't matter. You got to this point. These two teams are so incredibly similar. They're so similar. It's unbelievable how identical these two teams are in so many different aspects. So that to me is why it comes down to these 1 or 2 plays, Rev. And that's why when you say put up or shut up, it's organizational, like the whole thing, top to bottom. And that has a lot to do with coaching. 1 or 2 plays, that oftentimes can be, that can be the difference between one coach having a terrific outing and one coach not having a terrific outing. 1 or 2 plays where you dialed something up, the other team didn't see it coming. It's going to be those little things on Monday night, Rev. That's how close this game is going to be.
Absolutely. And the pressure is on this coaching staff. The pressure is on Ken Dorsey. I know first-year offensive coordinator, but still, whatever, suck it up, buttercup. You know what I'm saying? Like this is it. This is a prime time, big time game. You need to show something. I mean, you got the keys to a Ferrari on offense. You cannot afford to have lapses. We go back to the Chicago game. I was extremely frustrated against a poor team. The first half, I thought they were going to ruin my Christmas, but it was looking brutal. And
I hear you.
And we know, like going into that game, we're like, man, he probably should. You need to run the ball, understand the elements, understand what you're involved in, right? And just lean on, especially when Josh is off. Had it not been, I think the only saving grace was the fact that we were playing against the poorest team in the Chicago Bears. And they finally kicked it on in the second half and outscored the Bears, I think 29-3 in the second half. Okay, but that was against the Bears. You do that against the Bengals Monday night, you could be looking at a blowout loss. Okay, and so that's how important this is. We can't afford to waste possessions on offense, and so this is going to be a huge game, not just for the players involved, but also for the coaching staff. I'm glad you had mentioned that. Ziba, we got a super chat in here, man. My man Silas Whittle comes in here, man. Ziba, go ahead and tell me what Silas is saying.
Silas is saying he likes our D-backs against any wide receiver core, and Frazier is going to make sure we stay ahead of Cincy on down and distance. We should be able to play physical on these wide receivers. I love our offense against their D. I think he makes some solid points here. I think the way that I look at this game and the way Silas is bringing it up, you can make that argument in just about any facet of this game where you could say, I love this matchup. I love that matchup. I think what it all comes down to is when you really get down into the numbers, these two teams are so I can't get over how identical they are.
Yeah.
So the matchups are all terrific because they all typically, when you look all the way down, when it comes to either the defense, the scoring defense, the passing defense, the points per game on offense, these two teams are so similar. The quarterback play. So it really is. It's going to be matchup based, I think. And what of these major matchups, right? When it comes to, like Silas is saying, our D-backs against these wideouts, or, Josh Allen against this defense.
Yeah.
Which matchup of the several throughout the game is going to lean one way or the other to be the difference? Because that, to me, is how marginal this game's outcome is going to come down to.
Very close. And Silas, he backs it up again. I mean, with the same thing you were saying about matchups. He says the key matchup will be Groot versus their backup right tackle. And so, yeah, man, I think these are some serious matchups that we need to be taking a look at. And I definitely agree with him that Frazier is going to have these guys dialed in, right? And make sure they try to stay ahead of the chains. But you know what? I've got something I want to say about that. And I'm gonna bring this up here in our last segment of the game. But let's go ahead and just jump right into it because we are an hour and 25 into the show. And I want to go ahead and touch on this right before we go ahead and wrap up. But man, you guys, 200 plus, man. We're still building. 200 of you guys in here right now, man. Shout out to everybody who's watching right now. If you have not already done so, smash that like button like you've never smashed the like button before. And go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on those bell notifications because you don't want to miss any content like we're bringing you guys tonight on the Buffalo Fanatics and Rated Rev with my man Z-Bot here. So as we get here and we move forward, man, I've got a segment I want to get into, man. And this is what we're going to use. Let me see if I can pull it up. Here it is. This is going to be our keys to Big Dog.
Big Dog! Big Dog!
keys to big dubs, man, and shout out to Jordan Poyer. So, Z-Bot, when we look at keys, and you know, Silas had brought up this point about Frazier making sure we stay ahead of the chains. I think this is what's going to be important. Because when I look at this matchup here, and I was looking at some stats, and this really popped off the screen to me. The Bengals, and I think on defense, man, what they Bills need to do is limit the Bengals' third down conversion percentage.
They're one of the best in the league.
They're one of the best in the league, especially at home. The Bengals at home, 53.85% third down conversion rate. Number one in the league on third downs at home. And we look at the Bills' defense. Okay, the Bills' defense, they give up 37.95% on third downs to their opponents. And that's 11th in the league. When they're at home, it's 40.23%. Away, though, they're better at away, and it's 36.11% on defense. So this is going to be a matchup of third down, in my opinion. When you're going against a team who's number
is
one.
worse at it, though, as well. If you look at it, you're right.
Yes, absolutely.
Since he has a worse D than the Bills coming into the third down situation.
Third down, exactly. Yep. Who can win that third down? Who can win? You know, because Cincy on offense is number one in third down conversion rate. But our defense, we know, has been kind of suspect on third down, especially third and long. So if you can get these guys, now I agree that Frazier's going to try to stay ahead of the chains. But, man, if you get a third and long, that's the money down. That's where I think these guys need to show up and get off of the field. Get off of the field, man, because we know Cincy is extremely good on third downs. And if they can stay on the field, especially on third down, converting those first downs, man, it could be a long game for the Bills. And then to couple that with the fact that they can run the ball with Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine, and we know that's the book on the Bills is you want to keep that offense off of the field as long as you can, right? And so it's going to be tough sledding for the Bills, but I think third down matchups, both on the defensive side of the ball and on offensive side of the ball, going against their defense is going to be a key to big dub. C-Bot, man, do you have any keys, man, for big dubs for the Bills?
Which of these quarterbacks is going to get the turnover monkey off of their back? That is going to be absolutely critical. Joe Burrow has four picks in the last 3 games. Josh coming off of that multi-pick game against Chicago, and those were 2 absolutely horrific picks. I cannot understand, how does he go from the game he has in Miami where he just can't miss? I mean, it's just everything he does is just like you're just watching greatness every snap, especially in the second half. And then on Sunday, I mean, that game was won on offense because of the ground game. They ran for over 250 yards, and the defense outside of the first drive was absolutely balling. They shut down Chicago on every single, series post first drive.
Yeah.
Josh did not play well on Sunday, but in the biggest moments under the lights, he plays phenomenally. And we saw that a couple of weeks ago against the Dolphins, and we've seen that throughout the year. We've seen that throughout his career. But he absolutely cannot be throwing balls. Like, there was 3 balls against the Bears. 2 were intercepted, and then if you remember, off of his back foot crossfield to Gabe Davis, how that ball wasn't intercepted, I'll never know. Even one of those balls against the Bengals could be all the difference. And the thing of it is, he did not have a single one of those against Miami, and they won by 3, right?
Yeah.
They won that game without making any errors outside of course, they did have that strip sack fumble. The D bailed him out, though. But that was, Josh could only do so much. He got bum rushed on that play, strip sack. I'm talking about the plays that Josh can control. He can control not throwing the ball into double coverage.
Yes.
When you're in the red zone, like he did against the Bears. He can control not overthrowing a 5-yard dump route to James Cook and having it get picked off. He can control not throwing the ball cross body in opponent territory and having it be an absolute duck. That stuff cannot happen. Joe Burrow's had his share of that recently as well.
Yeah.
2 of the best quarterbacks in the league, and we know what comes with that. We know what happens when you try to extend plays, and that's what we love about Josh Allen. But what I didn't get is how on Saturday of last week against Miami, you can do what you do. And then against the Bears, You just make 3 or so decisions that have everybody saying, Josh, what the hell is this? What are you doing? Monday night, you have to wonder which quarterback is going to wind up putting their team in a better position, not necessarily because of how well they played, but because of what they decided to do with the ball that didn't put their team in a bad spot. Both these quarterbacks are capable of doing it. It's going to come down to which quarterback is going to be able to eradicate those errors throughout their game on Monday to make the difference. Josh did it against the Dolphins on Saturday of last week, and we know how pivotal that was. One pick in that game could have been all the difference. Monday, I feel, is going to be the same exact way. Both these quarterbacks are capable of throwing interceptions. I really do think that oftentimes when both these quarterbacks are picked, it's not because of the defense making an extraordinary play.
No, it's a boneheaded decision.
Yes.
Yeah.
So which one of these guys is going to step up? I lean Allen because I know what he's capable of in these moments. For some reason, when the lights come down and when everything matters most, this is when you get MVP JA. I expect no different Monday. But with that said, he can still play the game of his life on Monday night and have 1 or 2 of those throws. Right. And that would be the difference. I would much rather have, Rev, an average game from Josh where he doesn't put us in a bad spot.
Very clean.
He just puts this team in a position to score routinely, methodically, as opposed to him putting the whole thing on his back. And I think that's exactly what we saw on Saturday night of last week until the end.
Yeah.
Then, of course, it just seems like when it's needed the most, he does it in the most positive way, not the negative way. We'll see. But Rev, that to me is going to be huge Monday, right? One or 2 interceptions, that's the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially in a close game. What's the spread of this game?
It's basically a pick 'em. The Bills are -1. They're 1 point favorite.
See, so in a very close, you can't get any closer than that, right? And so even if Josh has a monster game like that, all it takes, like you mentioned, is 1 or 2 of these boneheaded decisions at the wrong time that tilts in the favor of the Bengals that can give them the win, And so,
well, John's making a good point here. I want to touch on this because he's saying, you can't win a Super Bowl with average play from Josh, and I agree. I think wrong word choice on average. When I'm saying average, I'm meaning I don't need to see the back. I don't need to see the back foot cross field throw. I understand when it works, it's beautiful, but in a game that matters this much on Monday night, I'm willing to take neither the good or the bad. I'm willing to just take the status quo in a game like this until, listen, if it comes down to the last drive and Josh has to go nut mode, lock it down. But in the other, like the game against the Bears, it was the second drive of the game for the Bills, and he's throwing in the double coverage in the end zone.
So I was like,
McKenzie on the 20-yard line. Yeah, he's going for McKenzie. It just made, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
That to me, that needs to go. Whereas what I think John's talking about, like when you're talking about the throw he had to cook for the touchdown before half against the Dolphins, at least in that throw, there was no opportunity for it to get picked off. Either he's going to get sacked or it's just not going to get caught. When you're throwing in double coverage like that, or when you're throwing back foot across the field in the double coverage, like he was going to Gabe Davis, that just can't happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at. I don't want average Josh. I just want smart Josh, I guess.
Yes, and that's going to be up to Dorsey as well, right? Making sure he dials him down a little bit, understanding that the gravity of this game, making sure somebody needs to be able to get in Josh's ear and just calm him down a little bit, especially earlier in the game. And I'm curious to see how Dorsey calls the game early on, right? If he's going to be super aggressive and have Josh do it a lot, or if he's going to just try to be very methodical, get Josh involved in the offense in a methodical way, just really distribute the ball to different players so that way the offense can stay on track and stay ahead of the chains. I'm interested to see that because I think if we do that and we give the offense a chance to get on track early, then that bodes well with Josh's confidence and he can kind of calm himself down a little bit. But it's when he feels the need to press, that's when at times we can see Josh making some of these boneheaded decisions, which we don't need to see in a game like this at all.
And we know it's give or take. Like we've talked about this. You're not going to get the play to cook or the play to Knox against the Dolphins without a couple of turnovers on similar plays. I get that. There is no excuse, however, for that pick against the Bears. Both picks, really. You have a wide open Cook on a dump pass, and it's not even close, and it's picked off. And you throw in a double coverage to Isaiah McKenzie, who's undersized to begin with, and he's not going to go up and get it anyways. And you don't need that. You don't need that play in that moment. It just needs to be dialed back a bit in moments like that where it just doesn't make sense. It makes sense, Rev, to force it on 4th down, right? When you need a touchdown on the goal line, right? Exactly. But when you're in the red zone on 2nd down against the Bears and you're lobbing it up into double coverage, make it make sense. You just can't.
Yeah, and to Isaiah McKenzie of all people, like that just made it even worse.
And
like,
Mike's coming, he's saying I'm paranoid. I'm not paranoid. If anything, this is where I'm up the utmost confident in Allen. Because for some reason in games like this, there's a switch flip that I can't quite describe. I'm just saying there's also moments in a game like this where you could see Allen saying, I'm going to do it because we need it, right?
Yeah.
And I just think that it's only necessary when I think we all agree it's necessary. Exactly.
Yeah. It's only necessary
when it's necessary, right?
Yes.
And a deep ball to McKenzie in double coverage is never necessary unless it's a Hail Mary and you're trying to hopefully win the game. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, never. That is never necessary. I don't care that's never necessary to McKenzie. But so man, I agree with you. I think that like you said, I mean, like you want Josh to do these incredible things. That's part of his game, right? But you just want him to play clean at, with like within the game, right? We know he's gonna zip down that that coat and pull his chest out and show the Superman on his chest, right? In crunch time when he needs to. But there's moments within the game where Josh can at times get a little careless, and we don't need to see that, especially in the game like this that's supposed to be as close as we think it's going to be. And this is going to bode well.
And it will be. I will put any amount of money on it right now. This game finishes within 7 on either side, guaranteed.
I think whoever has the ball last.
I totally see it. Yeah.
Is liable to win the game. I hope we don't go into overtime.
I mean, you go look up any stat, Rev. I don't care what it is. I guarantee you will find that the Bills and the Bengals are within about 5 rankings of each other, no matter what the stat is. That's how close these two teams are.
Yeah, these teams are incredibly close. And so, man, it's going to be interesting to say the least. I'm excited about this game, but
I haven't even mentioned you. I'm going to it. I'm going to Cincinnati.
For real?
Yeah. So I'm I don't even know what to do with myself because we go to a road game every year.
Yeah.
But like with the stakes of this one, man, in a road environment, and I don't know like what to expect, man, dude. I'm so jazzed. I don't even know where to begin. And I'm dying to see how it's handled because I'm going there like with a big group. I'm wondering how the dynamic's going to be because it's going to be I mean, there's a lot on the line, man. It's not like you're there just for the hell of it. So I'm trying to see how that goes.
Man, I don't know. Like I was telling my wife the other day, I said, babe, I'm going to be throwing up. I think so much bubble guts, dude. Like it's going to be like, oh man, it's going to be bad for anxiety, man. I'm just going to be like on the edge of my seat the entire day leading up to this game because that's how big it is. I mean, a playoff game in Week 17, against the Bengals, like this is it. And then like if you want any more fire, any more juice, Zeba, like you had put out this tweet, man, and I want to go ahead and share it because
take a look at this.
Yeah, man, this is beautiful, dude, and I love it. I love it. I think this is exactly what we need here going in. You guys,
somebody
check this out.
pin this up at One Bills Drive.
Pin that thing up, man. Look at what man Zeba put up. Look at this. You see the game preview picks, and my screen is it's loading. Here it is. I think it's loading. There you go. Look at this.
What are your thoughts on that?
Almost everybody outside of Colleen Wolfe and
everybody's got it within 4 points.
Got the Bengals, man. Yes. Close
everybody's
game.
Got it within 4, and everybody's got the over hitting too. So everybody thinks this is a field goal game, high scoring, but the majority, Rev, they're thinking the Bengals pull it out.
They're thinking they are, man. They're thinking they are, and I kind of like the fact that all right, we're being a little, I wouldn't say overlooked, but I think we're being slightly disrespected. Like man, we're the number 1 seed right now. You know what I'm saying? Like who are you to sit here and say that the Bengals, by and large, man, are going to win this game. Like I think this is bulletin board material for the Bills. I hope they saw it. I hope they've seen it, and they come out on fire. This game right now. This is what I want to see. I'm getting fired up, man. Now I'm talking about it. This is what I want to see, man. I want to see the offense explode. I want them to give us a taste of what it was like at the beginning of the season and even the tail end of last year. Just give us, because I know it's there. I know they're able to do it. I don't know what's happened over the course of the season, but man, if they could just give us a taste going into this game or going into the playoffs and say, hey, and plus with the W, and you don't necessarily have to blow them out, but just light them up and sit there and say, now, you guys thought that we were this and that, you know what I'm saying? But we can still put these points up. We can still have a potent offense if we want to. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and the rest can light the teams up if we want to. And this is just a taste for you guys going. I want to see that. I don't know if I'm going to get it. There may be a different way in which they get it. Well, but I definitely want to see it.
And not only that, but you want to see it because if they do end up winning this game and wind up getting the 1 seed, this will be the last of them we see before the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
2 weeks removed. You got to ride that momentum somewhere. And this is the time of the year where the offenses and the teams in general really wind up playing their best ball so they can take it into the playoffs with them. You're going to get the best of the best, right, when it comes to the final couple weeks here. You're going to see what everybody truly has. And if you do end up getting that bye, that's something we're not used to for sure. Yes. You got to think that there's value in playing your best ball of the last 2 weeks into that bye, knowing whoever you face, you feel confident what you put out on the field prior to that bye, that you'll be able to piggyback on it. It's not like you're going to be able to carry that into the next week. You got to wait on it, right?
Yeah.
So if you go out with a bad taste in your mouth, even if you do get the victory, maybe that weighs on you a bit. So you're right, Rev. This is that game where it's like, not only does it mean so much for the implications and the win and the 1 seed or whatever, but if you are able to play your best ball on Monday night, how much momentum does that give you going into those playoffs, knowing that that's what you put out on display against a team that everybody thinks is another one of the Super Bowl contenders out of the AFC?
Man, it gives you a tremendous amount of momentum and confidence going in. Not to say that the Bills don't have confidence already, but you want to. I mean, when Josh has admittedly, talked about his shortcomings, against the Bears, he wants to get that taste out of his mouth. When you look at Stephon Diggs and how silent he's been on the stat sheet the past few games, like I mentioned earlier, they want to right those wrongs, right? Yeah. Even though they're still getting these wins, you have to think that these players want to correct these mistakes ahead of the playoffs to build that type of momentum and that confidence in themselves, saying, you know what, hey, we got guys, look, we can do it. It's all right. Let's go into these playoffs with this momentum, and at home at that. That's going to be huge for this team.
Huge. We got some super chats coming in here, Rev. Should we get to them?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get to them.
Bobby Glean kicks us off. He's saying, I'm so amped for the game. Play Bills football and dominate like we did in the first 6 weeks of the season. Remember, we wanted all the smoke. Now it's our time again to show the world we are that team. And I think that's what you're saying, Rev. I mean, it's the perfect opportunity. Now, that doesn't mean you got to blow Cincy out. I think a high-scoring game where Josh Allen looks good, the D makes a couple plays that wind up being a difference, I think that is gigantic, right?
Right.
There's way more to being that team than going out and kicking Cincinnati's ass. We want to see in the biggest moment that our top guys are able to deliver, in a way we expect them to in order to get that victory. And that, of course, means Josh Allen, Diggs, who we haven't seen that much of recently. And I know Chicago's run defense is pretty god-awful, and the Bills ran all over them. But they still have been running the ball fairly well, right? That's another aspect of this game you want to look at, too. Jeff King, the Kinger.
My man, Jeff.
He's coming in saying, love being the underdog, pisses the boys off. Want to see that run game again? See, Jeff? Yep, no doubt about it. Now's the time to unleash it fully and put the fear of God into these teams where they say, oh, shit.
Yes, right.
Now they got a run game, too. And look at the Bills' run game. It's crazy. And Tina By the way, a super sticker. We never really get any of those. That's cool. I love that. I want to put that right on my chest right here. The
That's
super
right.
sticker. I love that. Thank you, Tina. But what Jeff's saying here, as we talk about the run game, it's got to be the most underrated run game in the league, even for us as fans. We don't even ever give it any credit. I mean, this run game is been way better than we give credit towards. And I think when they allow James Cook to cook, Rev,
yes,
when they get him involved, they've been getting him involved in the pass game. They've been allowing him to run. I think James Cook's another piece that I'd love to see use more. And you know what's another thing too? Monday night. Why don't we use Beasley if you're going to put him on this roster?
Man.
Why don't you use him?
You have to use him.
Right?
Dorsey, I'm looking at you, man. You have to get this guy involved. We need all hands on deck in this game. Beasley's been sitting here. He came back because he knows that the office needs his help. Get him involved in this game. But I want to piggyback back to what Jeff and these guys were saying about the run game. And this perfect segue into what I was going to talk about here early, man. And I want to pose this question to you, man, because I have put something on here called just a small segment as we get ready to close out the show. It's called Say Something Else. Say something else. Oh! Say something else. Say something else. Okay. So Z-Bot, this is where there is something that's been said about the Bills ad nauseum that is frankly just odd and tired. And it makes you just want to look at the person saying it and be like, say something else. Say something else.
I like that.
Okay. And for me, man, perfect segue is that the Bills have no run game. The Bills have shown that they do have a run game. Like you had mentioned against the Bears, granted, the Bears may have been, towards the bottom of the league in run defense, but these guys, man, have been running the ball very well. Motor, what is he like well over 700 yards rushing this year?
I think they lead the league in yards per carry, the Bills.
Yes. And I saw a stat where Motor has more yards on the ground than Joe Mixon does right now this year. With less attempts. And so like this team, though it doesn't look like it, they have an ability to run the ball when they need to, and they can do it effectively. Motor Singletary has been averaging like a good 4.5 yards per carry for his career. Starting to see the emergence now of James Cook, who's starting to look like the reason why Brandon Beane drafted him in the round 2 in the first place. He's starting to see his explosiveness. That's starting to look like a very good 1-2 punch at the backfield. This Bills team, man, has a ground game. Though they don't necessarily need to use it as much, the fact of the matter is they can use it when they need to, and they have it in their arsenal. Say something else, man, talking about the Buffalo Bills ain't got no run game.
I love that. I think it's spot on. And I think it's, they've thrived primarily, when you get these big stat games, they've done so against weaker opponents on the defensive side of things, stopping the run. Mm-hmm. But I do think in a game like this, it's going to matter because they also have Joe Mixon, like you just mentioned, who can get it going when they want him to. He's also a threat in the pass game as well. I think that James Cook, what we've seen from him, their ability to get him involved has definitely paid dividends. I mean, he can really do it all. His burst is incredible. And as you just mentioned, Devin Singletary is dramatically, he's underrated. I mean,
very much
he truly is. When he gets going, he gets going. I don't think they'll have a game on the ground like they did against the Bears just because that's not who they're going up against this coming week. Right. There's a better defense across the way in the Cincinnati Bengals. But I want to see them stick to the run game throughout the game plan. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be run heavy. I highly doubt it will be. This is a Josh Allen type game, and it is. But what I liked about the game in Miami is even when they had to go to Josh and have to have him put the game on his back, they still stuck with the run, no matter if it was Josh running it or if they did stick with Singletary and Cook. And it wasn't like it was a great day on the ground for them in that game, but they stuck with it. And I do like that from this team. I've seen plenty of times throughout this year where Dorsey will just go away from things that are working. I did like seeing that. I love seeing that against Chicago. They got to have a proper game plan in this game on Monday, you'd think. And with that, you got to stick to it. And I think a lot of that is sticking with the ground game. You got two guys who have shown you they can do it. Just stick with it. That, to me, is what it all comes down to in the run game.
Z-Bot, man, you just like open up a wound that I had a Band-Aid over, and I was waiting. I was hoping that was going to heal. You just rip that thing off, man. When you talk about Dorsey not sticking with things that are working, like that has to be the most frustrating thing. And it's I mean, and it's no different than Daboll, because Daboll used to do the same thing. Like,
I know it.
And I've called Dorsey Mr. Opposite, because he tends to do the opposite of what you need to do in the game to win the game. And of course, like, who am I, right? But like in cold, frigid weather with the temperatures and the negative teens, right? Like it was against Chicago, it takes him a full half to decide that, oh, you know what, we need to run the ball. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, that's what we're thinking all along. Run the ball in these conditions. And then sometimes, like when it's sunny outside, he wants to run the ball instead of pass it. Like, it's weird. I don't get it. But when the run game is going, it's almost like he's afraid of it. Like, oh my God, like I can't believe it's working. We've got Josh Allen. This is just abandoning it. Josh, we need to, I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Like, just win the game at all costs, man. If that means you having to hand the ball off to your running backs to win, so be it. I remember there was a game, I think it was a couple of years ago, against the Chiefs in Buffalo. We know Andy Reid hates to run the ball, absolutely hates it. But I remember there was a time when the Bills played them in Buffalo where Andy Reid that entire game ran the ball all game long and just lit us up on the ground, well over 200 yards running the ball. And I'm like, that's what you need to do at times against teams. If that's what
they give you, no doubt. They did it last week.
Take it.
I mean, there were moments last week, Rob, even though they ran the ball really well against Chicago, I was saying to myself, keep running it. After a couple times where Josh was making errant throws and you knew this game was so winnable the way they were running it, I'm just like, why not continue to run it? You know? I hear you there.
And you almost think like sometimes like some of these real brainiacs, who call these plays, sometimes they get too much in their head. Like I even think about like the Dolphins. Like the Dolphins probably should have beaten us, the last game, because they were looking good.
They went away from it. You're damn right, Rav. McDaniel bailed kept running it down our throat.
He should have kept running the ball, and they probably would have won that game.
To watch that first quarter, there's two plays where they throw instead of run on third and short. Yes. And they settled for field goals. They were running it down our throat that first quarter. Easily. Mostert had 100 and some yards in the first quarter. He finished with $134, I think. Yeah. They bailed on it and it killed him. They shouldn't. You're damn right. You're so right. There's so many examples of that in this league, and the Bills are just one of them. There's plenty of teams that do it, but I just want to see them attempt to get the run game involved each series, because I think that they have the capability to do so. We've seen it. And, like you just said, if it doesn't work early, don't bail on it immediately. This is a game where you'd much rather have the ball the majority of the game than not. So if you can run the ball, that would be critical in a game like this. Critical. Because like you said, and I agree with you, this is a last possession type game. So the more that you hold on to the ball, the better in a game like this.
That's key, man. We need to win the possession battle.
Silas was coming in, by the way, Rev. He's saying 34-30 Bills win with a defensive stand to end the game. So he's thinking last drive, but it's the Bills D that gets it done in the last drive. Remember how good primetime Josh has been. He's great on Monday night and has better numbers on the road. We need this game, biggest game of the year. I mean, to me, that's what it all comes down to.
Yeah.
I have the utmost confidence in this team because I just know in a game like this, you don't have to worry about Allen. It's weird. In the games that seem in the games that seem the easiest, like a good example would be like the Jets game.
Yeah.
Right. The first Jets game where we lost. That was a game where I'm like, man, the Jets record's inflated. The Bills are much better. And Josh just did a few things in that game that were like, man, what's going on? Right.
Yeah.
It's those games that I think are winnable and kind of lost in the Sunday slate where you get the worst Josh. It's games like this, though, where you can just almost guarantee you're going to see his best performance.
You are. And that's a good thing about it. And I'm so glad that we have Josh Allen, right? A guy like this, because game on the line, it's crunch time. You have a guy who is a stone cold killer. Like Josh Allen is a killer. I mean, it's ridiculous how the switch that the guy can flip, when it's needed, when the game is on the line. This guy can just turn it on like on a dime, put the team on his back, on his shoulders. He's got broad shoulders, and he can carry him to victory. That's what I love about Josh Allen. And that's what we saw a week ago. Man.
I mean, that's what we saw.
Exactly. Yeah. We saw it a week ago. We saw it against Detroit, right? In the Thanksgiving game. We saw that we know he can do that. And so that's what we want to see when it's time to do it. And I think in this type of atmosphere, in this game against the Bengals here, Monday night, prime time, playoff primer for the number 1 seed. Lock it up. Playoffs run through Buffalo, baby.
Yeah, we're
Come
approaching that time of year, Rev, where last year, this time, we saw Josh Allen's best football.
He turned it on. Yeah.
This is when it happened. And this is it. I mean, this is it, man. This game is the way I see it, Rev. If this game is the only road playoff game the Bills should play all year.
Absolutely.
This is the only road playoff game they should play, right?
Absolutely.
Because this game is a playoff game. And if they get it done, you won't be going on the road once in the postseason. So long as you don't shit your pants against New England the following week.
Right, because they can't even afford to arrest any starters against that game.
We'll
probably
get to that when we need to. What I'm saying is, though, I mean, this game, and I don't even care if you're a Bills fan or a Bengals fan. This is
it.
This is it. I mean, this game is just like
we couldn't have set this up any better.
ESPN executives have to have the tent they're pitching right now.
Man, you know.
I mean, you don't even get it. This doesn't get better than this.
It doesn't.
So the fact that we, are in the thick of it as fans is just, man. I just can't wait, man.
I can't wait either, man. Let's get
what
this
sucks
thing
a little bit about it though, Rev, is we all got that love for the Bengals too. Bills Mafia.
I remember
we got that love for the Bengals. So it's gonna be a real shame to have to yank their heart out, but it's all right. We might see him again. We might see him again.
You're doggone right. We might see him again. But we're gonna see him in Buffalo.
Facts.
And that's
so get it done in the jungle before we got to get it done in Buffalo.
That's it, man. Look here. Shout out to everybody, man, who's been rocking with us for almost 2 hours, man. We've been at it 2 hours. I see 200.
Hold on. I want to make a quick note here. Mike's bringing up a good point. I want to talk about this because this is something that I haven't necessarily been complaining about. And I think it's a good point. He's being fair here.
Yeah.
This is like, the more you run it, the less Diggs is going to get involved, right? I've actually been in the camp of saying I have been impressed that they have won all these games without Diggs having to have these games. Everybody keeps getting on that, and I agree to some extent. Even though you're running the ball as well as you have been, or in games where you have been running the ball well, you cannot neglect the targets to Diggs. And I think that's what your point was, Rev. It needs to be designed more to get the ball in his hands.
Right.
As negative as I can be at times about this team, I have found it very positive that this team has found ways to win 6 straight games where the majority of these games, Diggs has not had to have a career day. And that is miraculous. Right. You look at a lot of these teams with unbelievable wide receivers. There hasn't been a game where the Vikings have won where they haven't had to have Justin Jefferson put up $150. So the Bills are showing you, and that's what playoff football is. They're showing you, all right, Diggs isn't available, we're going to run for 250. Or Allen's not having a great game, or Diggs isn't available, we're going to go to Knox, like we did against Miami. Or we can't run the ball, okay, Allen puts it on his shoulders. They have shown you multiple different ways to win, and I think that it's even more impressive that when Diggs isn't, think about it, Diggs was barely even involved against Chicago, and they put up 35 points and won by 22. So I know it's Chicago, but that's the same Chicago team that lost by 5 the week before to Philly. So to me, it's a bit impressive. I got to be honest with you because it's showing you a range this team didn't show before, Rev. I think last year at least.
The way this team is able to find a way to win these games is very impressive, very impressive. And I'm not taking that away from at all. And it's just at certain times. You want to be able to give your guy the ball. I'm not saying that Diggs needs to have over 100 yards receiving every game, but you definitely want to get him involved. And it was clear that he was getting frustrated at times, during the Chicago game. Because I think what it does is it puts too much pressure on one player, like on Josh and stuff like that. Like it's the offense is actually better when they're able to disperse the ball to more than one player and get everybody involved in the game, and they have a clean game like that. So that's all I'm really saying is you would like to see Diggs more involved because these last 3 games, and I'm trying to look it up. But maybe you can find it. I was trying to look up like the last 3 games where Diggs has really been MIA, so to speak. I'm wondering if those last 3 games have been very run centric games, for the Bills stats. Because I want to see if there's a correlation.
We know for a fact Chicago.
It was Chicago, right?
I mean, and it's not like he hasn't been like he was non-existent against the Jets and the Bears for the most part. But in all these other games, I mean, like we just saw a comment, I forget who put it in there a minute ago, but he's still like third in the league in receiving. And
he still is, yeah.
Over these series of games here, I mean, he still had 92 and a touchdown against the Patriots and 77 against the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
The Jets have a terrific defense. I think that had a lot to do with it. And the Bills only scored 20 points. And then in the Bears game, it just wasn't necessary for Diggs to have a big day. They ran the ball for 250 yards.
Right.
I also look at it like this. It's less people are seeing a Diggs before the playoffs. You're going to scheme something up to get him more involved come the time when you can put it all out on the display? Maybe so, right? But to your point, regardless, I think Dorsey's going to need to find a way to get the ball in his hands a bit more, whether you're running the ball or not, because it's just too big of a role player on this team to not have involved in every single game.
Yeah. You don't want to have lapses like that, especially in a game like this where you're going to have to put points up,
Yeah, for sure.
and unless they're just so incredibly successful, running the ball where they just win the time of possession battle and they're able to keep the Bengals offense on the sideline, which I mean, you never know what happens. So we'll see. We'll definitely see, man. Z-Bot, man, before we head on out here, man, this is what I want to get from you, man. And shout out to everybody, man. We are like 230 in here, man. So strong, 2 hours in. Shout out to everybody, man. Smash that like as we get ready to close out. There's one final segment, man, and this is a quick thing, man. It's called That's Cold. That's Cold segment, man. This is what I want. We hear about bold predictions and hot takes. What is a cold take that you have for this game? Something that's likely to happen, right? Not bold, not hot, but just something cold. It's just kind of like that. It's a cold take.
This game finishes within one score. That's my cold take. I am so confident in that. I don't know necessarily which way it goes. These two teams are so identical. I lean Buffalo just because I think we get a better game out of Josh Allen than Burrow, but that might just be me being biased. But I also do know that these are the moments, as we've talked about, where Allen is going to give you his best ball. But no matter who wins this game, my cold take, I see it being a one-score game, regardless if it's the Bengals on top or the Bills. I just think these teams are too similar. They're too talented, and the quarterbacks are too, I don't even know, proud, it might not be the right word, but they're too, like, they're too, like, what's the word I'm trying to say here? They're two quarterbacks that aren't going to allow you to let the game get away from you, I guess, so to speak. You know what I mean?
That's
you
right.
got two quarterbacks here that aren't going to allow a multi-score loss, in my opinion. They're going to find a way to keep these games close. So that's where I see it landing, and hopefully the Bills are on the right side of it.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, I hate to kind of echo what you're saying, but I agree 100%, man. This is definitely going to be a close game. It's exactly what I see it's going to be. I don't know how high scoring is going to be. I mean, with the I've seen some predictions in here about in the 30s for both. But then you look at the over under at 49.5, or 49 points. So
I could see that hitting. I do.
Yeah.
Think about it, Rev. You really only got to have a 27-24 game for that to hit. And I think that's a no-brainer in this one.
Yeah. I agree, man. It's gonna be tight to the wire. And we can expect it, man. Whoever has the ball last is likely gonna have the opportunity to win the game. That's the way I see it happening.
Defer the kick.
Oh man. Please do it. And you know what I don't want to see? I don't want to see us going overtime. I do not want to see it overtime.
I got a weird feeling it's going to.
Dude, oh my gosh. I don't know if my nerves can handle an overtime game, dude. It'll be exciting, but I don't want to see it.
Wait for it. Is it Monday yet? When's the last time you said that?
Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. You guys, man, look here. Everybody in here, man. Shout out to you guys. That's our time, ladies and gentlemen. 2 hours in the books. Another fantastic show brought to you by BetUS on the Buffalo Fanatics Network, man. My man Z-Bot came in here with some fire. I'm so glad that Z-Bot, man, you were able to join me on the show. Love you, my brother.
Much love, brother. Thanks for having me. I'm glad I was able to hop on. It was a perfect perfect roadmap between me feeling better and you having it. So it was perfectly aligned. And I had to get something off my chest before this game, Rev.
I know you did.
I'm glad you gave me the
man.
spot to do it, brother. I always
know you
appreciate
did, man.
it.
And let's go ahead and end it out, man, with a positive note, man. Let's listen to some good old The Bills Make Me Want to Shout, baby.
I love it.
There we go, baby.
Get done Monday, Bills Mafia. Let's go.
Let's go, man.
Hit me up if you're going, by the way. I'll be there.
Z-Bot, go ahead and close us out, man.
Hey, say, well, got it right now, baby.
Oh, my man Z-Bot. I don't know what happened to him. He may have hit the wrong button. But ladies and gentlemen, that's our time. Grace and peace to everybody who's been watching us this whole time. Smash that like on your way out. Hit the subscribe button. Almost bell notifications. Let's go enjoy some football Sunday. And let's get ready for a big time Bills dub against the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati on Monday Night Football, baby. And until next time, baby, as always, grace and peace. God bless. Let's go, Buffalo. Go, Bills. Let's get it.
Bills make me wanna kick your heels up and throw your hands up and throw your head back and come on now. The Bills are making it happen now. Stand up now, come on and shout. Yeah, 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 yeah. Shout it right now, baby. Come on, come on. Come on and shout. Yeah. Buffalo's happening now. We're on the move now. The Bills are happening now. They're making it happen now. We got the spirit, a lot of spirit, yeah. We got the spirit. Just watch it happen now.